Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence.
Here are today's top headlines. GM sends another signal about bankruptcy. Chrysler's banks get a counteroffer, and we uncover an important loophole about CO2 legislation. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Thursday, April 23, 2009, and now the news. Yesterday, GM let it be known that it's going to close most of its plants in the U.S. for 9 weeks this summer. Normally, the company takes a 2-week shutdown in July. According to Ward's, GM had 122 days worth of inventory at the end of March, which is high, but a lot lower than the 147 days it had in February. So why close down for 9 weeks? Here's what I think's going on. This is a sign GM is preparing to go into bankruptcy, and GM knows its car sales will collapse when it does. GM hopes to get through any bankruptcy in 2 months, so why not close the plants for 2 months? Yesterday, we reported the banks rejected the U.S. Treasury's offer on what they'll get for Chrysler. Today, the Wall Street Journal reports the Treasury has a new offer, which would give the banks more money and more stock. That brings both sides closer, but they're still $3 billion apart, and the deadline for any deal is 1 week from today. While Fiat's deal with Chrysler is still up in the air, it's being reported that the Italian automaker is also interested in Opel. According to German magazine Spiegel, Fiat will sign a letter of intent to buy a majority share in Opel next week. The magazine also said Magna Steyr was in constructive talks with GM over Opel. All three companies declined comment. GM must find a buyer for Opel for the company to receive aid from the German government. Like other European countries, the UK is initiating a scrappage plan to stimulate new car sales. Autoblog reports the program offers a £2,000 incentive to new vehicle buyers if they trade in a car that's at least 10 years old. Half of the roughly $3,000 discount is paid by the government and the other half by automakers. A similar program in Germany boosted sales by nearly 40% last month. Hopefully it will work in the British Isles. Tally-ho and God save the Queen. Yesterday was Earth Day, and Chrysler used the occasion to unveil a green minivan. The company will provide the U.S. Postal Service with a fleet of 250 lithium-ion powered vans for use around the country. Surprisingly, they will not have a range extender. That means they're electric only and have no internal combustion engine to recharge the batteries if they run low. But it shouldn't be a problem because postal routes are typically only 18 to 20 miles long. You know, maybe there's more to this Chrysler EV program than meets the eye. Hey, last week we reported that it looked like Volkswagen would outsell Toyota in the first quarter of this year, but the AFP says the Japanese automaker was able to maintain its spot as the #1 automaker in the world, despite suffering a 27% drop in sales. Toyota sold almost 1.8 million vehicles to VW's 1.3 million in the first quarter. Coming up next, we've got some very interesting insight into California CO2 legislation. We've uncovered a major loophole. We'll be back right after this.
Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry.
Bridgestone.
2 days ago, I interviewed Tom Caquette, the Deputy Director of the California Air Resources Board, via webcam. He made a fascinating point about how fuel economy is calculated. After the EPA tests a car, it lowers the fuel economy by 20% to put a number on the label that reflects real-world fuel economy. But for CO2 regulatory purposes, the California Air Resources Board uses the higher number that's not on the label. Tom, go through that a little bit more, because that's a revelation to me. I haven't heard that. You're saying that what is on a truck label from the EPA now at 21 miles per gallon, by your factoring, would actually be more like 26?
Right. EPA has recently revised, I think for the second time, the label values so that they match the way that consumers actually drive the vehicles. And the label is now supposed to match what you actually get on the road, at least for an average person. And that discount between the actual test procedure that is used to derive the miles per gallon, which, by the way, are derived from CO2 emission measurement, and what you actually get on the road is on the order of 20%. It varies by the highway versus the city value, but it's on that order. So if you have a 26 mile per gallon vehicle, you would expect that its real, for our compliance, you would expect its real fuel economy would be about 5 miles per gallon less.
That's a significant thing that I was not aware of. That really changes the whole nature of trucks being able to beat that standard.
And even for the 43 mile per gallon car standard, 20% of 43 is about 8 miles per gallon less, so that makes it more like 35 on the city test. And so there are cars out there that are coming close to that now.
We'll be posting the full interview with Tom Caquette from the California Air Resources Board in the near future. Hey, join me tonight for Autoline After Hours at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Renzo and Vines are going to be there, and Matt DeLorenzo, the editor-in-chief of Road and Track magazine, will be there too. We'll be rating Toyota's brands, talking about the future of auto shows, and whether General Motors should change its name. Anyway, that's it for today's show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight and tomorrow.
Visit our website for even more great content all week long. Autoline Extra, Dawn's Journal, podcasts, and even more. So click over and get the inside view at AutolineDetroit.tv.